Every tree begins as something almost too small to notice. A single seed, hidden beneath the surface, quietly growing long before anyone can see the life it will eventually become. The same is true for every meaningful transformation. After days of reflection, unexpected change, and seeing yourself with new eyes, the Cancer new moon invites you into a different kind of beginning. It reminds you that lasting change isn't created by waiting for the perfect moment. It's created by the quiet choices you make before the results are visible. In today's reflection, we'll explore why every new chapter begins with identity rather than circumstance, how small daily intentions gradually reshape the life you're living, and a simple psychological exercise that will help you plant the emotional seeds of the person you're becoming. Because every future you've ever hoped for, first begins as a choice that no one else can see. A new beginning rarely unfolds in a single moment. It often begins with something small and subtle, like a quiet decision or a habit. These moments may seem insignificant, but they are the very places where every meaningful future begins. The Cancer new moon reflects this beautifully. A new moon isn't the brightest phase of the lunar cycle. It's the darkest. The moon disappears before it begins growing again. Nature reminds us that growth often starts where very little can be seen. The same is true within us. Many of the most important changes happen long before anyone else notices them. You decide to become more patient. You begin speaking to yourself with greater kindness. You choose to pause instead of reacting. You start honoring the promises you make to yourself. None of these moments make headlines, but they quietly reshape your identity. Psychologically, this is how lasting change occurs. The brain doesn't transform because of one extraordinary experience. It transforms through repeated evidence. Every small action sends your mind a message about who you believe yourself to be. When you repeatedly choose habits that reflect the person you're becoming, your identity gradually begins catching up with your intentions. Instead of saying, "I hope to become more confident," you begin living as someone who practices confidence. Instead of waiting to feel peaceful before slowing down, you create peaceful moments first. Instead of hoping you'll become disciplined someday, you honor one small commitment today. These tiny actions matter so much. They're not simply tasks, they're evidence. Evidence that your future has already begun. The new moon gently asks us to stop measuring progress only by visible results. Seeds don't become trees overnight. They first grow roots. Hidden, patient, steady. Those roots determine everything that follows. Our own emotional lives work the same way. Before confidence becomes visible, self-trust quietly develops beneath the surface. Before resilience becomes obvious, consistency has already been strengthening it for weeks or months. As this new moon begins a fresh lunar cycle, allow yourself to appreciate the invisible work you're doing. The conversations you're having with yourself, the habits you're practicing, the intentions you're nurturing. They may not yet be visible to the world, but they're already shaping the person the world will meet in the months ahead. And every meaningful future begins exactly there. One of the reasons lasting change can feel frustrating is that we often expect visible progress before we've built invisible foundations. We want confidence before we've practiced courage. We want peace before we've created moments of stillness. We want a new life while continuing many of the habits that belong to the old one. It's completely understandable. The human mind naturally looks for immediate results. When we don't see them, it's easy to assume nothing is happening. But nature tells a different story. Imagine planting a seed. If you dug it up every morning to check whether it had grown, it would never have the chance to take root. Growth requires trust, not blind optimism, patient participation. The Cancer new moon reminds us that our emotional lives follow the same rhythm. Every healthy habit you repeat is strengthening roots beneath the surface. Every compassionate thought you choose instead of self-criticism is nourishing those roots. Every promise you keep to yourself is helping your future become a little more stable. None of these actions feel dramatic, yet they're quietly preparing you for opportunities that haven't even arrived yet. This is one reason identity matters more than motivation. Motivation changes from day to day. Identity remains. Someone who believes, "I'm becoming a patient person," will continue practicing patience even when they don't feel inspired. Someone who believes, "I'm someone who cares for my well-being," will naturally return to healthy routines after difficult days. Identity creates consistency. Consistency creates growth. And growth eventually creates the visible results we were hoping for all along. This is why the new moon asks us to focus less on outcomes and more on the kind of person we're practicing becoming. Outcomes often arrive later. Identity begins today. Perhaps you've been waiting for life to show you that you're capable. What if life has been waiting for you to begin acting as though you already are? Not perfectly, simply consistently. One thoughtful decision, one honest conversation, one healthy boundary, one peaceful morning. These moments may seem ordinary, but together they become evidence. Evidence that your future isn't something you're waiting to receive. It's something you're already creating. As this new lunar cycle unfolds, remember that every great tree once spent a long season growing where no one could see it. Your own growth deserves that same patience. Trust the roots you're planting today, because they're preparing you to support a life far greater than the one you can currently imagine. One of the quietest shifts you can make during this new moon is changing the question you ask yourself each day. Many of us wake up asking, "What do I need to accomplish today?" It's a practical question, but it often keeps our attention focused only on doing. The Cancer new moon offers a different question. Who am I becoming through the way I live today? That single shift changes everything. Instead of measuring your day only by completed tasks, you begin noticing the qualities you're strengthening. Patience, integrity, compassion, presence, and resilience. These qualities aren't built through occasional moments of inspiration. They're built through repeated moments of intention. Imagine two people planting identical gardens. One visits only when they feel motivated. The other shows up a little each day, watering, removing weeds, and giving each plant the attention it needs. Months later, the difference is obvious. Not because one person worked harder, because one person worked consistently. The same principle applies to your inner life. Every day you're cultivating something. If you repeatedly practice worry, your mind becomes more familiar with worry. If you repeatedly practice gratitude, your mind becomes more familiar with gratitude. If you repeatedly practice self-trust, that too begins feeling natural. This isn't about pretending difficult emotions don't exist. It's about choosing what receives your continued attention. Attention is like water. Whatever you consistently pour it into begins growing. That's why your daily choices matter far more than they often appear to. A single encouraging thought may not change your life, but thousands of encouraging thoughts gradually change the relationship you have with yourself. One healthy habit won't transform your future overnight, but repeated over weeks and months, it becomes part of your identity. This is why the new moon feels so hopeful. It reminds us that every day offers another opportunity to plant wisely. You don't need to fix your entire life before sunset. You only need to choose one action that reflects the person you're becoming. One conversation, one habit, one decision, one act of kindness toward yourself. Over time, those small choices stop feeling separate. They begin supporting one another. Confidence grows because you've practiced courage. Peace grows because you've practiced presence. Discipline grows because you've honored small commitments. Eventually, the life you've been hoping for no longer feels like a distant destination. It begins feeling like the natural result of the seeds you've been quietly tending all along. And perhaps that's the deepest wisdom of this new moon. Your future isn't built in extraordinary moments. It's cultivated through ordinary days lived with extraordinary intention. One of the most powerful truths about growth is that you become what you repeatedly practice. Not what you occasionally achieve, not what you hope to become someday, but what you consistently return to. Every day, whether we realize it or not, we're practicing a way of living. We're practicing how we respond to stress, how we speak to ourselves after making a mistake, how we treat our bodies, how we care for our relationships, how we spend our attention. These repeated choices slowly become automatic. What once required conscious effort gradually becomes part of our character. This is why identity isn't built during extraordinary moments. It's built during ordinary ones. Think about someone who is known for their kindness. They didn't wake up one morning with a completely different personality. They practiced kindness, again and again, until kindness became the most natural way they moved through the world. The same is true for confidence, peace, discipline, patience. None of these qualities appear overnight. They're cultivated through repetition. The Cancer new moon reminds us that every action is casting a vote for the person we're becoming. A single healthy choice may not transform your life, but it strengthens an identity. A single act of courage may not remove fear, but it strengthens trust. A single moment of patience may not solve every challenge, but it strengthens emotional resilience. This way of thinking changes how we measure progress. Instead of asking, "Did I completely transform today?" you begin asking, "Did my choices reflect the person I'm becoming?" That's a much gentler question, and it's often a much more useful one, because transformation isn't measured by perfection, it's measured by direction. If you're moving toward greater compassion, greater honesty, greater presence, you're already growing even if the results aren't fully visible yet. As this new moon begins another cycle, remember that your future self isn't waiting somewhere ahead. They're being shaped by the conversations you have today, the habits you repeat today, the promises you keep today. Every small decision becomes another root reaching deeper into the life you're creating. Eventually, those roots become so strong that opportunities, challenges, and changing seasons no longer determine who you are. Your character does. And character is simply the collection of small choices you've practiced often enough that they now feel like home. Perhaps that's the quiet miracle of every new moon. It reminds us that every sunrise offers another opportunity to become the person we've been planting all along. Over the next few days, I'd like to invite you to try a simple practice. Not to become more productive, not to change your entire life, simply to become more intentional about the person you're growing into. Call this exercise Plant One Seed. Choose one quality you want your future self to embody, not something you want to achieve, something you want to become. Perhaps it's patience, courage, calm, discipline, compassion, confidence. Write that one word somewhere you'll see it each morning. Then ask yourself one simple question. What is one small action that someone with this quality would naturally take today? Keep the answer small enough that you can complete it without waiting for motivation. If your intention is patience, perhaps you'll pause before responding during one difficult conversation. If it's confidence, maybe you'll share an idea you've been keeping to yourself. If it's compassion, you might speak to yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a close friend after making a mistake. If it's discipline, perhaps you'll complete one task you've been avoiding before checking your phone. The action itself isn't the goal. The identity behind it is. Each time you repeat that small action, you're giving your brain another piece of evidence. Evidence that this quality already belongs within you. Psychologists often describe lasting change as identity-based rather than outcome-based. When your actions consistently reflect the person you're becoming, your mind gradually stops seeing those actions as something you're trying to do. They become part of who you are. That's why this exercise works. It doesn't depend on feeling inspired every day. It depends on showing up. One small action, repeated consistently. At the end of each evening, take a quiet moment to reflect. Ask yourself, did I water the seed I chose today? If the answer is yes, appreciate it. If the answer is no, simply begin again tomorrow. Growth has never demanded perfection, only care. Every sunrise becomes another opportunity to water what matters. Every thoughtful action becomes another root growing beneath the surface. And one day, you'll notice that what once felt like effort has quietly become your nature. Not because you forced yourself to change, because you patiently became the person you had been practicing all along. As this new moon continues unfolding, you may begin noticing that your life isn't changing because everything around you has become different. It's changing because you are. Not all at once. Not through one extraordinary decision. Through hundreds of small moments that quietly reshape the way you move through each day. Perhaps you're becoming a little more patient with yourself. Perhaps you're no longer rushing every conversation. Perhaps you're recovering from disappointment a little more quickly than you once did. These changes are easy to overlook because they don't usually arrive with dramatic announcements. They reveal themselves through ordinary moments. The moment you choose understanding instead of self-criticism. The moment you keep a promise you once would have broken. The moment you realize you've responded differently than you would have 6 months ago. Those moments deserve your attention because they're evidence. Evidence that the seeds you've been planting are already taking root. Many of us become discouraged because we compare our visible progress with someone else's visible results. What we rarely see are the invisible seasons that came before. The mornings they kept showing up, the habits they repeated, the difficult days they continued anyway. Nature never compares one tree to another. Each grows according to its own season, its own conditions, its own rhythm. Your growth deserves that same kindness. There is no prize for rushing toward the life you're trying to build. A tree that grows too quickly often develops shallow roots. A life built too quickly can lose its foundation just as easily. This new moon reminds us that depth is more valuable than speed. Strong roots create lasting growth. The same is true emotionally. Every quiet act of integrity strengthens your character. Every moment of presence strengthens your peace. Every choice that aligns with your values strengthens your future. Eventually, these repeated choices become so familiar that they no longer feel like effort. They simply become who you are. That's the quiet beauty of identity. You stop chasing it. You start living it. As you move through this new lunar cycle, continue trusting the small steps that no one else can see. Continue watering the qualities you've chosen to cultivate. Continue believing that today's invisible work is preparing tomorrow's visible growth. Because one day you'll look back and realize that the life you once hoped for didn't appear all at once. It quietly grew from the person you chose to become, one thoughtful day at a time. As we come to the end of today's reflection, remember that every meaningful life is grown before it's seen. Just like a seed beneath the soil, the most important part of your transformation is often invisible at first. No applause, no recognition, no immediate results, only quiet choices, repeated with care. The Cancer new moon reminds us that this invisible season isn't a delay. It's preparation. Every moment you choose patience instead of frustration. Every time you return to a healthy habit after falling away from it. Every promise you keep to yourself. You're strengthening roots that will support the life you're building long after this lunar cycle has passed. Don't underestimate those moments. The world often celebrates visible success. But lasting success is almost always built upon invisible consistency. As you continue practicing your plant one seed exercise, allow yourself to enjoy the process instead of constantly measuring the outcome. Trust that each small action matters. Trust that every compassionate thought is nourishing your future. Trust that every intentional decision is shaping someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded than the person you were yesterday. You don't need to become your future self overnight. You only need to continue giving that future self something to grow from. One thoughtful choice, one meaningful habit, one act of courage, one moment of presence. Those moments become days. Those days become seasons. Those seasons quietly become a life. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If today's reflection inspired you to begin planting the life you truly want to live, I'd love for you to continue this journey with us here at Daily Inner Alignment. Our next reflection explores one of the most significant turning points of the year, as Uranus forms harmonious connections with Neptune and Pluto, inviting us to embrace long-term evolution instead of short-term change. We'll discover why the future isn't something we simply wait for, but something we begin building every time we're willing to outgrow the person we used to be. Until then, be patient with your progress. Honor the roots that are quietly growing beneath the surface. And remember, the life you dream of tomorrow is already taking shape through the choices you make today. Take care, and I'll see you in the next Daily Inner Alignment.